In the field of commercial paleontology, time is a completely different concept. You are literally unearthing a creature that walked the Earth 150 million years ago. It survived the unimaginable crushing weight of continents shifting, oceans drying up, and millennia of grinding stone. To extract it, you don't use bulldozers. You use dental picks, tiny brushes, and microjack drills. It takes thousands of hours of agonizing, backbreaking patience to separate the bone from the rock without shattering it. I have the patience to sit in a folding chair in the blazing sun for 5 years just to uncover a single ribcage. I understand how to preserve ancient history. I just never understood how quickly the modern history of my own marriage was decaying right in front of me. My name is Declan. I'm 38 years old, and I am a commercial paleontologist and fossil preparator. 6 years ago, I married Morgan. Morgan was a high-end art gallery director in the city. She loved the clean, sterile, champagne-filled world of fine art. She loved the white walls, the cocktail dresses, and the wealthy collectors. She did not love the dust that I tracked into the house. She viewed my job as a glorified dirty hobby for overgrown children. But my hobby hit the ultimate jackpot. On a private lease in Wyoming, after 5 years of digging in 100-degree heat, I unearthed something spectacular. It was a nearly 85% complete, perfectly articulated Allosaurus skeleton. It was an absolute monster, a true apex predator from the Jurassic period. I named him Titan. In the private antiquities and fossil market, a complete museum-grade Allosaurus is the holy grail. Independent appraisers looked at my field photos and estimated that, once fully prepared and mounted, Titan would sell at auction for anywhere between $8 million and $10 million. It was my life's work. I promised Morgan that when we sold Titan, we would be set for life. She could open her own gallery, we would never have to worry about money again. But Morgan didn't want to wait for the auction block, and she definitely didn't want to share the millions with the guy covered in dirt.
The decay of our marriage accelerated the moment Morgan decided to help me find a private buyer for Titan. She reached out to her network in the elite art world, and that is where she met Alistair. Alistair was a 45-year-old international antiquities broker based out of London and Geneva. He was a sleek, polished vulture who wore $5,000 suits and made his millions moving unregistered artifacts for anonymous billionaires. He didn't care about the historical or scientific value of a fossil. He only cared about the commission. Suddenly, Morgan was spending all her time flying to strategy meetings with Alistair. The red flags didn't just quietly appear. They roared like a predator. First, the profound, unapologetic disrespect. Morgan started actively belittling my work in front of her friends. "Declan is essentially just a miner," she laughed one evening, pouring a glass of wine for a colleague. "Alistair is the one who actually understands the global market. Alistair is a visionary. Declan just hits rocks with a hammer." Second, the intense, unnatural secrecy regarding her schedule. Morgan started claiming she had to stay in the city 3 nights a week to handle gallery emergencies. When I called her at night, she would reject the calls and text me hours later claiming she was asleep. Third, and by far the most alarming, was her sudden, highly specific interest in my laboratory's logistics. Morgan, a woman who absolutely refused to step foot in my dusty preparation lab, suddenly wanted to know exactly when the custom wooden shipping crates for the skeleton were arriving. She asked me about the export permits, the customs declarations, and the exact weight of the skull crate. When an art director suddenly cares about the gross tonnage of a wooden crate, you don't answer the question. You sweep away the dirt and see what's buried underneath.
Because I am dealing with millions of dollars in uninsured, fragile inventory, my preparation lab has a centralized, cloud-synced inventory management tablet. Morgan used it occasionally to upload high-resolution photos of the bones for her marketing materials. One Tuesday evening, after Morgan had left for another overnight trip to the city, I opened the tablet to log a newly cleaned femur. The tablet was still logged into her WhatsApp web account. I didn't just find an affair. I found a premeditated $8.5 million heist. I scrolled through months of messages between her and Alistair. They were sleeping together in high-end hotels paid for by Alistair's corporate card. But the romance was entirely secondary to the real prize. Alistair wrote, "The buyer in Dubai is fully confirmed, a private collector. He is willing to pay $8.5 million in Bitcoin, completely off the books, no auction house fees, no public record. Do you have the access codes to the lab's loading dock?"
Morgan replied, her words dripping with a casual, horrifying cruelty that made the blood freeze in my veins. Yes, next weekend, Declan is flying back to Wyoming for a 3-day survey dig. While he's gone, you bring the unmarked climate-controlled trucks. We load all 6 crates containing the allosaurs. Before we leave, I'll open the water main valve and flood the lab. We'll make it look like a catastrophic pipe burst that destroyed the soft sandstone and ruined the bones. Alistair responded, "It's flawless. He'll be devastated, but he'll have no proof it was stolen. We ship the crates to the Emirates on a private cargo charter, take the crypto, and I'll be waiting for you in Monaco. The Dirt Dater is going to fund our empire." I sat alone in the silent, dusty lab, surrounded by the towering bones of a creature that died millions of years ago, feeling my own life completely shatter. My wife of 6 years was sleeping with an arrogant broker. Together, they were actively plotting to steal 5 years of my blood, sweat, and genius, sell my masterpiece on the black market, intentionally flood my laboratory, and leave me utterly destroyed. They thought I was just a naive guy who hit rocks with a hammer. They didn't understand the level of absolute, unmitigated chemical destruction a master fossil preparator is capable of engineering.
If you want to destroy a thief, you don't lock the vault. You leave the vault wide open, but you replace the gold bars with highly unstable dynamite. I didn't confront her. If I did, Alistair's army of corporate lawyers would bury me in injunctions, claim they had a verbal contract to sell the dinosaur, and tie me up in court for a decade until I went bankrupt. I needed them to steal the crates. I needed Alistair to proudly present the skeleton to a billionaire in Dubai. So I went to work. I took the real, priceless, 150-million-year-old fossilized bones of the Allosaurus, packed them in secure foam, and quietly moved them to a highly secure climate-controlled vault at a nearby university where a colleague of mine worked. Then I opened my massive silicone molds. In the paleontology world, we frequently make museum-quality casts of real bones using heavy, dense polyurethane resin mixed with stone dust to make them look, feel, and weigh exactly like real fossils. I spent 4 sleepless days casting a flawless, 100% accurate replica of the entire skeleton. I hand-painted every fissure and crack. To Alistair and Morgan, who only cared about the money and knew nothing about science, the replicas looked absolutely authentic. But I didn't just cast plastic. When high-end private buyers purchase a multi-million-dollar fossil, their experts always perform a standard authenticity test. They use a tiny, high-speed drill tool to extract a 2mm core sample from the center of a major bone, usually the femur or the skull, to verify the internal fossilization matrix and prove it isn't a fake. Before I poured the resin for the massive femur and the skull, I embedded high-pressure glass ampules deep in the center of the molds. The ampules were filled with highly pressured concentrated security dye, the exact same indelible neon blue chemical dye used in bank robbery exploding money packs. It is impossible to wash off skin or clothes for weeks, and it permanently stains anything it touches. I carefully packed the rigged, booby-trapped resin bones into the 6 custom wooden shipping crates. I kissed Morgan goodbye on Thursday morning. "Have a good weekend, Morgan," I said smoothly. "I'll be in Wyoming until Sunday. Please keep an eye on the lab." "Of course, baby," she lied, giving me a sweet, empty smile. "Travel safe."
I didn't fly to Wyoming. I drove to a hotel 3 hours away and went straight to the offices of an attorney specializing in federal antiquities and customs law. I handed my lawyer the original, time-stamped excavation photos, the legal lease documents from the Wyoming ranch, and the WhatsApp transcripts of Morgan and Alistair actively conspiring to steal the asset and smuggle it out of the country. "Declan," my lawyer said, looking at the messages, "exporting an unregistered, multi-million-dollar paleontological asset across international borders without declaring it to U.S. Customs is a massive federal felony. It's international smuggling." We immediately filed a preemptive, highly classified registration of the true fossil with the Department of the Interior, locking the legal ownership entirely under my LLC. Then, we waited. Through the hidden security cameras I had secretly rewired in my lab, I watched the heist happen live. On Friday night, Alistair's unmarked trucks backed up to my loading dock. I watched my wife happily direct men to load my heavy wooden crates into the trucks. Before they left, true to her word, I watched Morgan walk over to the utility sink,
turn the main water valve on full blast, and purposefully jam a rag into the drain. She intentionally flooded my laboratory to destroy any remaining evidence and fake a disaster. They drove away, thinking they had just pulled off the perfect crime. They had no idea they were transporting a bomb to the Middle East.
Alistair flew to Dubai. The private viewing was set up in an ultra-luxurious, sterile white gallery inside a private Freeport vault. I wasn't in the room, but thanks to Interpol reports and the frantic security footage later recovered by the authorities, I know exactly how the execution went down. Alistair stood proudly next to the massive, opened wooden crates. The billionaire buyer, flanked by his private security and an independent paleontological authenticator, walked into the room. "I present to you the Apex Allosaurus," Alistair said smoothly, gesturing to the flawlessly painted resin skull. 85% complete. It is a masterpiece of natural history. The billionaire nodded, impressed. "It is beautiful, but as we agreed, standard verification." Alistair smirked. "Of course, go right ahead." The authenticator stepped forward. He pulled out a specialized, high-speed pneumatic microdrill. He targeted the thickest part of the massive femur bone and pressed the trigger. The drill bit pierced the outer layer of the painted resin. It spun deeper into the core. At exactly 1 inch deep, the titanium drill bit hit the highly pressurized glass ampule. Pop. With the sound of a gunshot, the pressurized capsule violently detonated. A massive, explosive fountain of highly concentrated, blinding neon blue security dye blasted out of the drill hole at high velocity. It hit the authenticator square in the chest. It sprayed across the pristine white walls of the gallery. But most importantly, it absolutely drenched Alistair. His face, his hair, and his $5,000 custom Italian suit were instantly covered in permanent, toxic-looking blue ink. The billionaire jumped back in sheer horror as the blue foam hissed and bubbled out of the broken plastic bone. The authenticator wiped the blue dye off his goggles, coughing. He looked at the shattered hole in the bone, revealing the cheap white plastic and the shattered glass vial inside. He turned to the billionaire. "It's plastic. It's a completely synthetic fake. It's booby-trapped." Alistair was standing there, dripping in blue dye, looking like a panicked Smurf. He frantically waved his hands. No, this is impossible. I swear it's real." The billionaire's face turned purple with rage. He looked at his security detail. "Lock the doors. Call the Dubai police. This man is trying to defraud me of $8 million.
When you try to scam a billionaire in the United Arab Emirates, you do not get a polite warning. The fallout was an absolute apocalyptic massacre. Alistair was arrested on the spot by Dubai police for massive high-level financial fraud and attempting to sell counterfeit antiquities. His reputation in the elite art world was instantaneously vaporized. Because the dye was permanent, his mugshot, featuring his bright blue face, was leaked to international art blogs. He became the biggest laughingstock in the history of the antiquities trade. To save himself from spending a decade in a Dubai prison, Alistair immediately cracked and told the authorities that Morgan had supplied him with the fossil. Morgan, who was sitting in a luxury hotel in New York waiting for her crypto transfer, had her door kicked in by the FBI. Because she had intentionally flooded my lab to commit insurance fraud and conspired to smuggle stolen property internationally, she was hit with multiple federal indictments. She called me from a federal holding facility, sobbing hysterically. Declan, please! The FBI is here! Alistair was arrested! The bones exploded! You have to tell them it was a mistake! Tell them you gave me permission!" "I didn't give you permission, Morgan," I said calmly, sipping my coffee. "I just left the crates open. You're the one who stole the plastic. By the way, check with your lawyer. You've been served with divorce papers. Good luck washing the dye off." I hung up and blocked her number. During our divorce settlement, she had absolutely zero leverage. Because she was facing federal criminal charges for corporate espionage and property destruction against me, the judge awarded me 100% of the marital assets and denied her any alimony. She was also ordered to pay the $40,000 in water damage repairs for flooding my lab. It's been 3 years since that explosive viewing in Dubai. I took the real bones of Titan out of the university vault. I finished preparing them, and I sold the completely authenticated, magnificent skeleton to a major natural history museum for $9 million. I didn't just get the money. I got my name permanently etched onto the bronze plaque below the exhibit. I bought a massive new piece of land, built a state-of-the-art laboratory, and I dig on my own terms.
Last I heard, Morgan avoided prison by taking a plea deal, but she is completely blacklisted from the art world. She is currently working at a budget framing shop in a strip mall, putting cheap posters into glass frames. Alistair was convicted in Dubai, deported back to the UK, and is currently facing massive civil lawsuits from his former clients. If there is a lesson to learn here, it's this: never mistake patience for weakness. If your partner thinks they can use your life's work as a stepping stone, steal your genius, and leave you to rot in the dirt while they take the millions, don't panic. Don't fight them for the keys to the truck. Smile. Let them pack the crates and let them confidently unveil your masterpiece to the entire world. And right when they think they've hit the jackpot, let the drill hit the core and watch them drown in their own true colors. Thanks for listening to my story. If you enjoyed this one, drop a like, hit subscribe, and let me know in the comments, what's the most satisfying time you've ever watched a scammer get caught? Stay sharp, trust the science, and always protect your bones.